Today on the Self Smarter podcast.
I want to always be pushing the envelope. You know, we're only here for a short period of time. And I want to ride this body and this mind until I can't any longer.
Hi, we're Danelle and Megan, the hosts of this conversation-centric podcast for leaders seeking to be better every day. Whether you choose to be a leader in the workplace, at home, or in your community, we believe the most effective leaders are equipped to not only be self-starters, but self-smarter.
Hello and welcome to Self Smarter. I'm Megan and this is my friend and co-host Danelle.
Hello, everyone.
We have a guest in the house. Miss Angela Grovey is with us today. Listeners, hello, Angela.
Hello.
We're so glad to have you in this beautiful city. It was just raining about 25 minutes ago and now the sun is out and it's because you're here. You brought the sun.
Oh, you're so nice. Thank you. But I will ride that ride. It's so gorgeous here. I love New York.
I know.
Period. The end.
Which is a perfect thing for me to go into because you and I have something in common. We're both Houstonians. I know.
Yeah.
All three of us are Texans. She and I are Houstonians. I was born in Houston.
I was born right outside of Houston, Sugar.
It was Sugar. Yeah. So anybody who's from Houston, I know y'all are there because I see you in the stats. We have one of us in the house.
Yes.
And this woman is an artist, an actor, the native Texan. I already mentioned that, but I had to just say it again. I'm very proud of that. And you have seen Angela in action on television shows that you're probably watching, listeners. No, I know you are because they're highly acclaimed. Shows like 30 Rock, which is mine and Danelle's one of our favorites. Ray Donovan, love him. Love that show. So congrats to that. The Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, hilarious. And The Blacklist. And that's just to name a few of the little things that you've done.
Yeah.
Which are not little at all.
And that's not even the current show,
large.
which we're going to talk about.
Yeah, we're going to save that for later.
Yep.
Angela is also a tremendous leader, which we're going to talk about as well, and serves as executive director of Broadway Inspirational Voices.
Yeah.
I can't wait to talk about that.
I'd also like to add that you're an incredible friend.
Oh.
And I know that probably is the case for many out there. And while we're new friends, you've been so gracious to me in my time in New York, and I just really appreciate it.
Well,
So excited to have you here.
thank you.
Yeah.
Likewise.
So let's talk about that. How did you two meet?
We met through Broadway Inspirational Voices, and Angela was just, and we'll talk, let you tell us more about that, but you were just coming, you've been involved with the organization for a long time, and then you were just coming into the role as director when I moved to New York. So there was that transition, and my interest in Broadway Inspirational Voices has been there for a while, but it increased once I got to the city, and the organization's going through some incredible growth right now, and it's just great to be associated. And then that's kind of where Angela and I connected, and then she's befriended me, and as I'm building my community here in New York.
Well, what I'm hoping as a result of this podcast is that people get to know and understand what Broadway Inspirational Voices does. We may call it BIV, listeners, just in case I go to the acronym. It's easier for us to say. But what I'm hoping it does is open people's eyes to the work that BIV is doing, that you're doing, because it's beautiful. And I had an opportunity to experience it myself and was blown away. I thought I melted in my chair. And we're going to talk about that just after this quick commercial.
Hi, Self Smarter listeners. Did you know 61% of website users expect to find what they're looking for within 5 seconds of landing on your website? And that's just for starters. People in a position to buy largely use the internet to search for solutions, and if your website isn't able to deliver the information or guide the visitor quickly, odds are you're losing business. I want to encourage you to contact our web team ASAP to take advantage of our free website scorecard. This service will grade your website to guide your online marketing strategy by uncovering your website's potential by scoring major categories of your website, like your messaging, the functionality, the analytics, how it's designed, and finally, we look at your goals and determine if your website is positioned to convert visitors into sales. This is 100% free to you, dear listener. So contact me, Mary Cobb Manriquez, at info@dma-solutions.com, and I'll schedule a call to get us started.
When was that event, Danelle? Was it December?
No, it was there were two events, October.
Yes, okay. That was the first one.
And that was the first live event for BIV with I mean, you did a little island, but that was the first official event post the pandemic or no?
No, we've done a choir, a holiday concert before.
Oh, that's right.
Okay,
Yeah.
but it was more of a benefit, like smaller, intimate event for us.
Yeah, but this was a bit what you would consider a little bit more large scale.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was a good thing for you to see is that concert to be your first BIV event.
What does BIV do for our listeners' benefit?
Yeah, we are a nonprofit that started almost 30 years ago. That started during the AIDS crisis in New York City, and the Broadway community was really hurting and in need of some emotional support during this hard, questionable time. And our founder and my dear friend Michael McElroy started this organization. It was a group of 12 singers, and they started to sing. And that became the balm that we are for the Broadway community. And almost 30 years later, we are still here. We're now a nonprofit, so we're a 501c3. And so we not only serve our community through our music, through mission-based concerts, but we also have arts and education programs that we serve communities in need all over New York and throughout the nation.
Amazing. So would you say you heal through music, with music?
Yeah, I think we truly believe that music does heal. You know, our roots we've got gospel roots, but you know, I always say you should really sort of underline the inspiration in our name, is we are here to inspire people through the arts, through music. It really does heal people, and that's why I love this organization.
Yeah, I do too, and I am getting to know it myself. But with that event, there were, how many people were on the stage?
Maybe 30, 35, 40.
So just imagine people who are excellent at what they do, like superb, and they all come in unison together in a choir setting. They took me out of my chair. I mean, I literally, the hairs were standing up on the back of my neck because it was just so beautiful. And I could... You know, if you imagine like angels opening up and coming down from heaven, that's what it felt like to me. I was like, oh, this is it. So anyway, thank you for that. And thank you for all that you're doing with this wonderful organization. Let's talk about you.
Okay.
So how does one like Angela Grovey grow up in Sugarland and decide I'm gifted and I'm an artist? How does that happen?
Oh, wow. Well, so I like I said, like you said, I grew up in Sugarland, Quail Valley area specifically. And I went to school, and I was always like a very like chatty kid. So my parents were like, how do we focus this? So like they put me in a lot of extracurricular activities. So I was a part of theater community. I was a Girl Scout. I was involved in church. And then at some point, like in high school, I was like, I'm either going to be a lawyer or I'm going to be an actor. And like, if you really sort of like break that down, they're very similar.
They are.
And so I decided to sort of take the leap. For me, I had some major sort of like things happen my senior year in high school that really sort of challenged myself and my mom to really sort of like take leaps of faith, truly. And my mom moved to Holland for work, and I moved to Chicago. So I went to a conservatory in Chicago. I studied there. I got my my bachelor's of fine arts in musical theater at a conservatory for 4 years, and then was too scared to move to New York. So I was like, great, let me work here. I know some people. Let's just make sure that this is really what I want to do. And then at some point around the 2 years after college, I was like, I gotta go. Like, I'm a bigger fish in this pond, and I need to truly spread my wings. And so I moved to New York. I started working. My dream was always to just be on Broadway, to just do theater. I loved it. And somehow the universe was like, hey, how about trying some TV stuff? And I was like, no, I don't see people on TV that look like me. This is not for me.
And so was this the mid-90s, 2000s?
This was in the 2000s.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was in the 2000s.
Yeah.
And so I was like, ooh, I don't really know that this is for me.
Right.
And then I actually landed my first television gig before my first Broadway show. So it was really unexpected. But then I kept doing more theater, and finally I landed my first Broadway show, and then I landed my first movie, and it was all just like, I wasn't expecting it to go the way that I thought, or my plan, or my 5-year plan that I had made in my conservatory. And it's been a really wonderful ride for me in terms of just sort of like being able to check in with what I said I wanted to do. And then the universe sort of constantly being like, hey, but what about this?
Right.
I'm very, very lucky to.
Well, you were listening.
That's right.
Because I think the universe speaks to us all the time. And it's just a matter of when we're willing to hear it and act upon it, or just allow it to happen. And I think that's an interesting part of your story. And I'm curious too, so were these breaks, would you say, again, breaks, you lucky or you smart, you're smart enough to know when you're lucky, were they presented to you in a way, like, did you work with an agent, or did you find this work on your own?
No, I've been very lucky, again, to always have the support of a team, a professional team. So when I was in school and college, someone saw me in a performance and was like, hey, I really want to work with you. And I ended up working with a huge talent agency in Chicago that then opened up in New York. So I have, I'm a church girl who also likes to hit the club occasionally, but I believe that like my life I'm being watched over. I'm being guided.
Absolutely.
So I know that everyone's story is not like mine, but I have had the support and guidance of a lot of people in my life who've been like, no, how about that? Let me challenge you. Let me push you. If you trust me, go that way. And so I've had the support of a great team that I was with for a very long time, but I made a very hard decision to change my team that I started with, I'd say maybe 5 years ago.
That was difficult.
That was really, really hard, because it's like the people that have like held your hand all along, and then you're like, thanks, I love you, I gotta go. Like, that's really challenging, but necessary.
Well, if you think about it too, it's like your work, your acting is your business.
Yeah.
And you're the CEO and all the other things.
Yeah.
From, as I can tell you can be janitor and CEO all in the same 5-10 minutes.
Yes.
But thinking about having to make that call, that's like literally deciding I'm going to change the culture of this organization, which is your career. And I can't imagine that didn't come with a lot of, I'm sure that is it fair to say it was a struggle?
Oh God,
yeah.
It was emotional.
Sure. Where did you pull? Like, how were you able to make that happen?
My gut.
Okay.
My gut just said, you've outgrown this. It was the thing that like also told me that like I had outgrown Chicago, even though I loved it. I could like go back there any day and happily live. But something in me said, you've outgrown this. And if you want to just stay here, stay in this position, or take another leap of faith. And so for me, it was like, all right, let's go. Like, it hadn't led me astray this far.
Sure.
So it was like, keep trusting your gut, Ange. So I trusted it.
Is it the gift of the 8, the Enneagram 8?
Yes, Angela's an Enneagram 8. We did not mention that.
Yeah.
I do. I do. And I think it's interesting because we just had a guest on, a friend, an author, an incredible speaker, Kristen Hadid, and she started a business at 19 and a cleaning business to pay for school activities and in college. And then she decided to not walk away, but go in a different direction and go into leadership development. And she talked about all the things that was required to make that happen. But the number one thing that when I asked the question of her was the exact answer that you gave. It's like trusting my gut. And we talk about that on here. My gut, as the owner and founder of this, our company that we work for, has led me so far. It was like, it also kind of led me in a direction. It's very powerful, our guts, but it's like I'm having to learn to listen to it a bit differently in this season. And so that's one of the interesting parts, I think, about having, I don't know, is that intuition or what is that?
Yeah. I think it is. And what I think we're all battling, or is it a battle or is it just nature? But we almost have to survive with gut.
Yeah.
Then the heart starts to talk. Around about 35, 40 years old, the heart starts to go, wait a minute. I've been working on gut.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I should follow my heart a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, obviously,
Yeah.
I think that's exactly what ends up happening for those of us who are in a position. And I'm much like you. I feel very blessed that the community around me all these years. But have I had to make those difficult calls as you did? It looked different, but have I had to do that? Absolutely. And it's when you find out, where almost your character, I think people assume that characters developed, in times of great triumph.
Yeah.
For me, it's been different. My character was completely formed when I wasn't in the best position.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But I feel like that, it's the gift of being an artist.
Yeah.
Is that you have to be your own entrepreneur. Like you are constantly having to shift and learn the new system, the new rules. And if you are not in tune, I say this all the time to young actors and young artists, listen to yourself. What feels right? What is going to be able to get you through the gaps when you don't know what your next gig is? What makes you not turn away and give up? It's like you have to listen to yourself. And I'm so grateful that I have an artist background and an artist hustle, as I like to call it, because I have thick skin. And so I have to trust my gut because I know that I'm the constant in a world that I put myself into that is constantly changing. And I want it to change. I grow from that. But I have to remain very in tune with myself. And I think a lot of artists deserve some kudos for being able to be in tune.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. I'd like to explore that with you a little, is that, and that, our daughter is an actor and aspiring actor, I should say. And so Mackie's at the beginning of this journey. And I've been trying to pay attention a lot to, a lot of our listeners are leaders in the workplace. That's kind of how we have formed this podcast originally, but now it's starting to expand. And so it's leaders of all kinds, whether it's in your community, your church, or your sports team, or wherever it may be. So I'm just interested when you think about you being an entrepreneur as an actor, and I like to refer to it too, like even the people that work at our company, I want everyone to be an entrepreneur or an entrepreneur. I don't care. I like that mindset of, where you can pivot and you can do the different things that you need to do to accelerate or whatever the need is. And so I would like to hear from you a little bit about artists. You're trained to, share your craft, your art, your talent. I often see artists struggle with the business mindset. And I also, and this is why I also want to explore this, I also see the business-minded folks, they're not using creativity as much as they could.
Yeah.
And that's something I really want to explore, having you on and some other folks that we have on the agenda or on our lineup, is the role of how you as an artist use the business mindset to accelerate your success. And then, the other side of it is, how can business-minded leaders use creativity as a tool to accelerate their success?
Yeah. I mean, you definitely have to use two different parts of your mind in approaching it. I love the business of being an artist. I take it very seriously.
For example,
I love to read my contracts.
Okay.
I have a manager and
Says the lawyer.
8 different, agents that read contracts for me. But I'm like, I want to read them. I want to understand what my limitations are. Because then if I know what I have, the lines that I have to color inside of, then my creativity is really allowed to color with any and of every color that I want to. I can use markers, I can use pencils, as long as you say I can, then I'm going to. But I think that sometimes, not just artists, I feel a lot of people just have to recognize it takes both sides. You've got to know the business part of it, because that establishes what you can and can't do. It also helps me to decide what it is that I want to do. It helps me establish goals for myself. If I know that like things in the market are not really growing for things that I want to do right now, then I don't necessarily put my attention to that. That's the business part of it. But while I know the business and the structure of it, what am I doing creatively that allows me to color with all of the things that are inside of my magic box of pencils and markers and crayons? So it takes both sides, I think, to continue to move, because otherwise you just become still, stagnant. And I think that that's not a fun way to live for me. I guess like artists or not, I want to always be pushing the envelope. You know, we're only here for a short period of time, and I want to ride this body and this mind until I can't any longer. So for me, I really rely on the business mind to set my boundaries, and then I let my creative juices fly.
Interesting.
I wonder if artists, as I'm raising a young artist myself, and I just wonder if, you know, you said stagnant. Is that because I'm so, let's say I'm putting myself in the shoes of an artist. I am so gifted. I'm focusing on the gift. And I think people should love me for that. And then we miss sometimes the common sense side of the business aspect, or the necessary checks and balances that a business has to be able to do. And so we get stuck in either side, and you have figured out how to sort of bridge the two, zipper both the gift and the business.
Yeah. You know, for me, I'm constantly looking for balance in my life. I think that is also why I am so passionate about being an artist, but also so passionate about giving back to the community. Being an artist is such it's all about self, right? We audition, we look at ourselves on camera, we have to be, we're criticized by things. You have to make adjustments. So all I'm doing is looking at myself, being critical of myself. That is a lot to deal with. And so for me, I've always needed to balance it, to be like, how do I shift this a little bit for myself so that I can live with myself and not be like, me. Right. So I really focus on how do I find the joy, the fulfillment in other ways. I love, as an artist, even though I'm not working right now while I'm in the gap, the thing that is like really driving me right now is seeing theater. Like it is fueling me, giving me so many ideas, and recognizing that your creativity doesn't always have to look like one thing, being on stage, doing this thing. It can also come from learning, engaging, having conversations with people. That also can fuel your creative side. So I think it's important that we become a little more nimble and not just say like, I was taught that it's this way and this is the expectation, because I think that once you sort of open up, life surprises you.
That's right.
You know,
it's like roses. That's what I did.
What?
It's like a rose.
Nora, okay.
When they're
I feel like a Bette Midler's if I start singing.
the rose.
yes.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, I'm listening to you and I'm thinking it's like a bud versus a bloomed rose. Which one smells? The beautiful, they come out of the blossom.
Yeah.
And so as you're blossoming as a creative, it's like that's when the good stuff really comes up.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not pretty because sometimes the good stuff hurts.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to do that anymore, or I need to let them go, or I need to let that part of me just go away. And I really need to focus on this, bringing more of this part of me into my life. That awareness is so critical. And really that's what this podcast is about, is that type of awareness with yourself so that you can just be a better human all around for other people.
Yes.
The rose.
And I think that was very beautiful, by the way. That was a very beautiful.
I got you. The rose.
I just keep thinking of that sad movie, but okay. I was just distracted.
It's a very sad movie.
But man, her vocals were incredible. We can talk about that in Music Moment. But I do think that that's important for us as leaders of whatever type we are, is to think about things that stretch us or that can bring, how do you develop? People ask me that all the time. What's the quickest way I can develop as a leader? Well, beyond the obvious of the study, it's you can't just be you can't advance your leadership skills without just leading.
Immersion,
doing it right, doing it wrong. but paying attention. But what I do think, to your point, whether it's the arts or exercise or whatever it may be, getting, Rick, I'm a big Rick Rubin fan, Rick, the Creative Way. Yeah. So he talks about the role of nature. And so I started reading his works when I got here to the city, and I'm thinking, okay, where can I find I just moved to New York City. So it's, I've challenged myself a little bit to wait, there's nature here. It just looks different. And so it's like finding that way. And that's been a way that I've been able to kind of open myself, is to say, okay, it used to just be right there. Now it's something that I have to intentionally engage with relative to nature and a concrete jungle, right? And so I do like that for our listeners, is to really think about, and for obviously us as well, is that we can learn just by watching others or being in a different space if we are thinking in that way.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, the key. It's like, I'm going to intentionally go to a show, which is technically in your line of work, but you're going with a mindset of, I'm just going to be absorb and be immersed in someone else's talent.
Yeah.
All around, from the writing to the lighting to the acting and everything in between. And so I think we talked about this again, mentioning Kristen again, that she likes to go away on retreats and likes to take this personal time. And I admit it, I struggle with the aloneness. And I'm learning that, but I struggle with it. I think it's interesting from your point of view as like wait a minute, yes, that's a way. And I know that you practice that as well. However, we can find inspiration in almost anything if our mind is in that mind, if we're thinking about it consciously. So I just think that that's a good reminder for all of us as leaders, is we don't have to read 70 books to be the best leader, is my point. That type of learning and that type of experience is great. I mean, please, if you're flying an airplane, I need you to read some books. Please, Lord, go do your thing. You do it right and land this thing on the runway, not the Hudson. And so, but for most of us, I think learning, the way we can learn, really needs to be explored in a less prescription way. Yeah. And that's what I'm hearing from you. Even the fact that you went to conservatory, it seems like your learning journey is a bit atypical, which I think is part of what makes you special.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I can see it too in watching you develop into, the full responsibility of being director at BIV, I'm witnessing that. It's the way you need to take in the information and process it. It's different. It's a different way. And I really admire that. So
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So when you're feeling joyful, you mentioned that earlier. You said, when I'm feeling joy, what are you doing? Really? What are you doing? What are some things you're doing? Are you on a stage? Are you cooking? Are you swimming in a pool? What are you doing?
Okay. This is going to sound so dorky, but this is the truth. Last night I made lasagna for the first time, and I have been craving lasagna, and I've never made lasagna before in my life, but I've been like, how do I make this? So I was like, I'm going to read up on a bunch of recipes.
Yes.
Sort of just be like, what are the different recipes and approaches? Last night I made two versions, one with zucchini and one without, and I had someone taste it, and the reviews were very high, and I felt so happy about that, because I was like, I tried something new. I allowed someone else to taste it, be a part of it, and it was a success. That was a joy-filled moment for me. Mm-hmm. I find joy in a little bit of adventure, controlled adventure. Let me just
on the Enneagram, of course.
Controlled adventure.
That's fine.
I love the water. That gives me joy, just to sit. And I have a hard time, admittedly, to quiet my mind. I'm very active.
And water does that for you?
Water does that. It just calms me. I love to hear water. I love to be in water. I get joy from being with my family, my friends. I've got amazing friends. Those are moments of joy. I have real, honest joy in lots in the majority of my life. I will say that. They're not all good. It's not all good, but I try to focus on the positive.
It's good.
And I have a lot of things to be really thankful for that honestly give me joy.
That's amazing.
That is amazing. Okay, can I just tell you something about your lasagna? I wasn't the one that tasted it, but I can tell you I made a lasagna this past weekend too. And what brought me the most joy was the next day serving lasagna,
Next day
eat it
lasagna.
up. It's tonight.
It's
That's
so
I'm so excited for you tonight. Like if you're eating dinner at your place, like I'm so excited about your leftover lasagna experience.
Okay.
It's almost better.
It
Yeah.
is.
FYI.
Yeah, on that.
I'm
yeah.
very excited about
So maybe cooking is going to become a new thing for you.
I love
Well, she loves to cook.
I love to
Okay, but
saying
just
she
not
tried it.
lasagna.
Right.
No, but I love to cook. I love to cook for others.
Yeah.
It's a way I show my love.
Yes. Acts of service.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we're gonna cook over here. She and I have a future date penciled in. We're gonna have a feast. Do you want to be here? Yeah. Okay.
Okay, we teased about it at the beginning, but now I want to switch to talking about Reasonable Doubt,
Okay.
which is coming back. Anything you want to tell us? Or you can tell us?
Yeah, I mean, we just announced a big star that's joining us this season. His name is Morris Chestnut.
Okay.
You know, that very handsome man.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'm really excited about it. You know, it again was this thing that so for those of you who don't know about Reasonable Doubt,
you.
it's a story that takes place focused around a criminal defense attorney, and I play this defense attorney's assistant. So we see slices of her life both inside of the office and outside of the office. Season 1 was fantastic. Season 2, I have no idea about because that's how it works in the television. You just get there and they're like, here's
Here's
what's
what you're
happening.
gonna say.
You're like,
Oh, you literally have no idea what's going on with your character.
not a clue.
Whoa.
Not
you
a
could
clue.
be you could be doing all kinds of things. Because okay, so I don't know if you've watched the show. I've watched the show, and Angela's character is very vibrant and full of life in the wardrobe. I
Yeah.
mean, is that fun? I'm like, is that the best time?
It's amazing when
I'm not into clothes that much. It's not my jam. But I can't wait every episode to see what they have you in.
it's amazing. I mean, because like, you know, they build your closet. Your character has a closet, and then you spend hours like trying on clothes that somebody else picks up for you. You're like, oh, I want this in my real life.
Yeah.
Like you just have racks of clothes. And then like when I go to set, you know, you see like Crystal's closet. Like that's my character. Her name is Crystal. And so I just have like literally a closet of clothes and like shoes.
Fun for you.
All for me.
Yes,
It's just so unbelievable. It's like, this is magical.
Do you get to keep anything?
Sometimes.
Sometimes like this.
Yes. I was like, oh, can I just take that? I know I'm not wearing it. Exactly.
So talk to me about this. I'm so interested. It's a cast.
Yeah.
So if you're thinking about leadership and you're thinking, I mean, you're being immersed immediately into a team.
Mhm.
Who leads that team? And we believe on this podcast, and we believe it personally, is that we believe that leadership it is not a designation. It's something you designate for yourself.
Yeah.
You decide when you're leading, and titles really shouldn't develop that. But in that setting of new cast,
Mhm.
brand new show, you do a reading, and we don't need to go through all the logistics of getting a show made, but what does leadership look like in that setting?
So leadership in on a television show comes from a couple of different places. It comes from your executive producers who are really sort of like looking at the money of it all. And then it comes from your writers, your showrunner, the person who created it,
Okay.
advocating for the characters. So I would say in this position, I am not leading.
Mhm.
I am following.
Okay.
I am supporting.
Yes.
That feels right to do in this situation.
Right.
I am playing my part in this,
Okay.
which is fantastic, but it doesn't always follow that model. But for our show,
Mm-hmm.
I would say the big leaders are our executive producers and then our showrunner.
Okay. In terms of responsibility, who moves things forward? And I think I'm interested. I understand your role is in more of a support in this instance, but are there younger actors that are around you? Are you leading others relative to how you show up? You're so professional. Like, I think about, okay, your role may not be specifically leading in this instance, but I know Angela Grovey, and you lead just by how you show up. So is there that dynamic going on?
Yeah.
Where you're able to shepherd and support not just other cast members, but all the people that bring a television show to life? Because you typically hear us, those of us not in the business, about when things aren't so special with an actor.
Yeah.
You know, they showed up in a not self-smarter way.
Yeah.
So you showing up in a self-smarter way, what does that look like with a cast, a television show?
I mean, I can honestly say it looks the same that it looks when I walk into a store.
Okay.
I lead by example. I believe that no human is greater or should be more valued than another.
Mhm.
And so I have a lot of respect for everybody in the room, whether you're a COVID officer or you're a dresser on stage for background people, it doesn't matter. I would say that is how I lead, not only on set, but just in life, is that I lead by showing that we all matter.
Oh, yeah.
We all deserve to be spoken to.
I love that.
And I would say, but it's not me being bragging about it, but
No.
I know that people do
Pay attention.
that and appreciate it.
No, I
think so.
Absolutely. We're being watched no matter what our role is.
Mhm.
And so it's like really thinking about, what kind of human do I want to, I'm either this person or I'm not.
Right.
The person that I think I am, that I say that I am, or I'm not. And that all comes down to behavior.
Yeah.
And so I'm just interested too. I can't help myself, so I have to ask.
Go ahead.
So you probably worked with a diva. I don't know what a male diva is. Let's just say diva is male or female.
Uh-huh.
I'm sure you've worked with a few,
Yes.
because it wouldn't be Devo, right?
I think like the general, just high maintenance.
High maintenance.
High maintenance.
How do you deal with that? I mean, did sometimes your chin on the ground where you're just like, I can't believe that just came out of their mouth?
Yeah. I mean, sometimes, yeah, I'm like a little bit like, oh,
Because you're an aide. You're a protector.
yeah, I'm just like, you are not of this world right now. You're having a moment. I try and like really just say like, great.
You give them grace.
I try to. I really, really do try to. But I'm also not like, I feel like that's also like a little bit of bully behavior. And I love to like come back at that with like, hey, let me check in. You good? So I just have a question, because at the end of the day, a job still has to get done. And if you don't like where I'm standing on stage, then let's talk about that. Let's unpack that with a person that can like change that.
Right.
So I don't back away from people who have bully behavior.
Good for you.
Because I'm just like, it's not necessary. We're playing dress up.
Right.
We're playing dress up. Like
We're having a great time.
we're having a great time. Be paid for it.
That's right. Yes.
Stop it.
If more people would stop and think about what they're not doing versus like what they are doing, they would be a lot more grateful.
What do you mean?
Like I'll say to you, you know what we're not doing today?
Oh, yes. I get your point.
yeah,
Okay.
we sell produce. We're not selling tobacco products.
Right.
Not to shame the tobacco people, because whatever.
I'm sorry.
But we always do a comparison like that.
Yeah.
Like, and that's perfect.
Yeah.
Like it could be a lot worse.
Yeah.
We're great.
It really
Okay.
could be. I've been very lucky to not have to. You see them and you can like chuckle about it and be like, "Whoa, I cannot believe that happened." But usually after
At someone else's expense, so it's hard to ignore.
you can,
Right.
It's just like, that's not right. Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Let's address that. Yeah. Yeah.
I love the casual confrontation too. It's almost like a carefrontation.
Yeah, we did a whole episode on that.
Carefrontation. I like that.
It's like you have to call someone out, but it's all in the way that you
Do it.
Yes.
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 So it's like thinking about, okay, what's the best way? I'm not going to let this go, but what's the best way that I can approach, at least initially,
Yeah.
to get someone's attention? Now, some people may not even recognize, so you have to try different tactics. Sometimes she has to grab my arm, but
Right? That did. Yeah.
But
so go ahead.
I'm so sorry. I've been taking therapy. I've been
Yes.
participating in therapy. That wonderful thing that I was like, no, and then I'm like, oh, I need it.
Yes.
Communication is just so important. Like how you communicate and knowing what you expect or
Like you said boundaries earlier.
absolutely. And I was like, oh, this is how we do this. I can fight for what I need or what I want, with also understanding that the other person can answer that question as well. And so it balances it out. And so I'm less afraid of communication than I was, which I feel like also makes me a great leader.
Yeah.
It's like, let's just put it out on the table and just recognize that we both want to be here.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's figure this out.
Do you feel something bubble up inside of you? As we talked about this, and we'll keep mentioning the episode with Kristen, but she said she's a 2 on the Enneagram. They don't want to say anything. 8s want to say, 2s don't want to say. But still, I think as human beings, we have this, I don't want to call it anxiety, but it's like something coming up when you know something's wrong.
Yeah.
And it's like, I just got to say it.
Yeah.
Do you feel yourself physically, emotionally, physiologically react and respond to when you need to say something as a leader?
Yes. I can't unsee it and I can't unhear it.
Yeah.
Like it's just,
It's a gift and a curse.
it really does. And I'm like, well, I'm so sorry I have to say this. And I try and do it in the nicest way that I can.
Love
but
it.
like, I also advocate for young people who cannot speak for
Themselves.
And so I think when I really started like working with like homeless and trafficked kids, I was like, I will no longer live my life in silence when these people cannot speak and advocate for themselves. And so like for me, that was like life altering as a leader. It was like, I will not sit silent.
Ooh,
Gosh, what's that quote by Martin Luther King? And he literally says that
like silence is.
there's silence is
Yes.
the great enemy,
Yes.
is saying nothing.
And saying nothing at all.
Because he's
Yes.
basically responding to, I'm sure, the physical, whatever was going on at the time. But he reminds us that it's the silent.
Yeah.
And when we
That's
don't,
the real killer.
that's the real danger.
Yeah.
And again, Jordan, you can put the real quote. I'll find it in the show notes because I just butchered it, whatever it was.
No, it's a good one. You're right. It is that.
So Reasonable Doubt is on Hulu.
Mhm.
And season 1, you filmed in LA.
In LA.
Okay. And then so season 2, you're going to be filming in Atlanta.
In Atlanta.
Is it going to be a completely different situation for you as an actor?
I mean,
How did
It's
that
probably
work?
going to feel like home, honestly.
yeah, I
I feel like
mean,
Houston.
it's gonna feel different, right? I was like, I lived in LA for 5 months for this. I knew where I was going. I knew where my studio was. So right, that is going to be different. But I'm an actor who's done 2 national tours. I've traveled for 2 years. Like I'm like, okay,
Mhm.
I'm here for work. I'm so grateful to be working.
Mhm.
I'm gonna figure this out.
Okay.
It's on the East Coast, so like it's actually a little bit. It's more convenient for me to get back to New York to do some of the other things that I have that I'm responsible for, including my life. There's some like big life.
Your fur baby?
Fur baby. I'm buying a house this year.
Going on.
Just a lot of things. So I'm trying to like find the blessings
Yeah.
in this change.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah. But in terms of just like, I mostly work inside of a studio. So they will pack up my office from LA and bring it to an office in Atlanta. And so you'll never know the difference.
Okay.
I mean, the weather's going to be different, which is what I was alluding to. The humidity.
Yeah.
I'm so used to it.
You're so used to it.
I know.
Love it.
Food. I mean, everything is going to be more southern, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll be right at home.
Yes. And I got people there. I also have people in LA. So, that's one of the great things about being a social person is that you collect people,
Yeah.
What a gift.
Yeah.
So thinking back on your career, and again, you've been in television, you've been on stage, you've done voice work, you've done a number of things. Have you sang? Like, I mean, obviously you sing with VIV, but has that been part of your career?
Mhm.
Well, obviously on stage, but I meant like just singing,
Like
like
album.
Oh,
recording.
yeah. No.
No. Okay.
Not yet?
It's not
No.
yet.
No desire to do it.
Okay.
So here's something about me. I, as I was mentioning earlier, when I was 17, the thing that really sort of shook me a little, which made me know that I would needed to be an artist, is that the man who raised me passed away suddenly when I was in high school. And being able to escape into a character's shoes really helped save my life, literally.
Okay.
So acting is my therapy. To be able to step into somebody else's shoes and to portray a character is wonderful for me. being a solo artist, singing in front of a group of people just as Angela is something that I have no desire to do.
Yeah.
It's too terrifying. It's just that is terrifying to me. But me being a character, I love it. I got it. Sign me up for it because I know how to study that. I know how to approach that. But like, I don't want to sit up and just talk about me.
Right. That is so funny. Yeah, I know we have a friend in common, Jessica Phillips. I was having this exact conversation with her. Is that because I would say, because she was telling me we were talking about some aspects of her business, which is her career. And we were talking about some aspects of it, and what she was struggling with. To me, as a marketer, I was like, you're doing really well at that. But it was like what she was going through in her mind. And I go, I don't understand what the difference of that is versus, I mean, the fact that you can go out and be the mom on Dear Evan Hansen.
Yes.
What? And she's like, oh, no, that's different. I go, how's that different? And she said, because I'm becoming someone else.
Yeah.
She's like, so it's not Jessica. I was like, you're completely vulnerable, completely exposed. And she's like, no, that's not the way it is in my mind. And that's exactly what you just
Very
said.
different.
That's so interesting.
Very, very different. When there's a shield, I mean, you literally take your shoes off and you step into somebody else's. And that is the study that we get to do. We get to study and breathe life into character.
Right.
When you get to do that, you leave yourself at the door.
And that's where the art comes into it.
Right.
Is it something completely new that you're having to create with a little bit of guidelines, but it's going to be how you deliver it.
Exactly.
That's the end product.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really cool.
It is very cool.
Very cool.
So what does next look like for you? Do we want to talk about BIV and your leadership? Because I think executive director is a big deal. You're basically running the whole damn thing.
Indeed.
Put him on thumb. There you go. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that next for me is finding balance.
Yeah.
Continuing to like push the envelope and continue to find and maintain balance, right? I am not done with my acting career. It is still very important to me. So I'm pushing that still. And now I'm trying to really sort of lead this organization that is going to celebrate 30 years next year. I'm trying to get us to our next chapter.
Yes.
Which is exciting and scary at the same time.
Totally.
But I was made for this kind of job.
Yeah.
I was built. I'm built for this. I'm built for these kind of challenges. I'm made to be this kind of leader for an organization like this.
Right.
And our founder, as he was leaving, said it to me. He was like, "You know that this was always going to be you." And I was like, "Oh, I know."
Touche.
Yeah.
I understand what that feels like.
As I'm running out the door.
No, Sure, I was.
Phone works in New
It's
York.
wonderful. And it's wonderful. It's wonderful. It's just a whole new set of emotions and things to manage about yourself.
Yeah.
Have you struggled with anything like vulnerably,
Yeah.
emotionally, imposter syndrome? I mean, I went through that. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but
Not as much. The imposter syndrome, I feel like not as much as I thought that I was gonna feel. The responsibility of like individuals who work for the organization,
the people were
just
Yeah, it's a multifaceted organization, so you got to think she's not only leading the staff, but she's leading a very, very, I don't know how to say it, but a board of directors that are from all walks of, mindset and bring a lot to the table, but still it has to be organized and managed. And then she's working with all the talent, the folks that are actually do like singing and bringing the joy to the communities that they serve, but then it's also the outreach.
Yeah.
So it's leadership relative to the education and working with all the different outlets that receive the joy from BIV. So it's, I've worked with a lot of nonprofits, and this one has some special tenets to it. That's what I'll say. So I applaud you and everyone there. And again, I think it's why I'm so touched by the organization and love being a part of it. But yeah, from a leadership perspective, that seat that you are in and leaning into it has a lot of aspects of leadership that is going to challenge you.
Yeah.
But it's the reward is so much greater than any challenge that that will come your way.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely.
That's a good reminder to just hear, because, you do have some sleepless nights. You do wake up in the morning when you're like, oh my God, I got to make that fiscal budget, oh God, we're like, we just got done with draft 2 of this next year, and which is great. It's very exciting because we're making plans, which I love. I love a plan. Love a plan. But yeah, I feel a little vulnerable because it's been me for so long, right? Me leading my path and taking on this role just means that I'm bringing more people along with me and that I'm responsible. And so that carries some weight to it. Not weight that I can't carry.
Sure.
But I'm acknowledging that my decisions affect a lot of people.
Yes.
That I love. That I really love and care about. And that matters to me.
That's right.
And I think too, sometimes that can be daunting because you don't want to let people down. And I think it's just learning how to understand that at the end of the day, you're probably going to be settled with making some tough decisions. It's going, and that's the responsibility that you've accepted. And I think learning how to communicate about that, the reason why, and we talked a lot about why on here. It's easy to talk about what and how, but sometimes as leaders, we can skip over why this is important or why this has to happen in this way, which may be a little bit different than what some others may see. We just sometimes can just make the decision in a vacuum, or we don't make it in a vacuum, but we still fail to communicate about it. And I think that's where we can get tripped up.
Yeah.
And when you leading such a diverse group of individuals, I can imagine that your communication, which is something that you take great pride in, it's going to serve you well, especially when you're able to guide people with the vision of this is why, because we're going here.
Yeah.
This is what we're going to do. So I think that's going to be critical for your success in that seat.
Yeah, thank you. I've also just really sort of learned to just value transparency. And I thought that, sometimes I think that people can say that's weak. And I actually think that it's maybe one of my most powerful assets.
I mean, Brene says vulnerability is the most greatest expression of courage.
Yes.
So,
yes.
And I think leadership today is leaning more towards that reality versus what we learned. Again, I think that brings me to my next question for you is, what leaders have really stood out to you in your life that just you're like, I want part of that in my leadership style, or what has basically shaped you as a leader? The people or the sources, I guess.
Yes. My mom, I take a piece of her planning. She's an excellent planner. So I think that's why I'm so meticulous and I love it so much. It was just ingrained in me from the beginning. So I'm like, I need to take that part. I don't know Oprah Winfrey. I know her, but I love her. But the way that I have watched her lead with grace and humanity is something that I really try and model, that kind of behavior. I find a lot of beautiful leadership in my pastor here.
Okay.
Pastor Mike. He is challenging the church in a lot of different ways. And he works with a lot of different age groups, which is very challenging. Black, I love my people, but it's honestly, it's there's a lot. The church is predominantly Black. The average age is probably 50.
Yeah.
But
the average.
Older.
Yes. But the gap is huge. I'm saying the average because there's a bunch of 17-year-olds
coming up.
Yep. But then there's a bunch of 70 and 80-year-olds as well. And so he is beautifully, the way he's bringing everyone together.
Yes. It's good.
And pushing them is beautiful. People like that's really sort of, I'm like, ooh, how do I take a little piece of this and borrow some of that?
Yes. That's great.
That is really
great.
Smart. Okay, Angela, I'm really curious, and help guide me here in terms of terminology, but in terms of your industry, entertainment, Broadway, musical theater, acting, what are the big challenges that the industry is facing?
Right now, I mean, I think that the conversation around diversity is huge. It remains to be a conversation that needs to be in the forefront.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I sort of talked about this earlier. It's like I didn't know that I could be on television and film because I didn't see people that looked like me. I didn't see brown girls. I didn't see plus size beauties like myself.
Mm-hmm.
So representation is really important, not only for what you see, but also be your race, by diversity, but also able-bodied. For diversity across the board is just really, really important, and just making sure you have representation. There's some beautiful conversation around trans representation and
Absolutely.
how we navigate being informed and then also being inclusive. So diversity is huge conversation that needs to be in the forefront. But also fair wages is a really big issue right now. The Writers Association has just gone on strike. So all of the television shows that you love to watch, film, they just went on strike because the wages are not fair for them. So in the last 10 years, streaming networks have been making so much money, but the distribution of the funds has not been fair to writers. So whereas actors or producers will make money when something goes from a network to streaming, the writers are not sharing in that same profit.
Oh.
Which is very unfair, and it is making it unaffordable. Like you just can't live with
If you're a writer.
If you're a writer.
And you're coming up with all the ideas.
Absolutely.
And writing the stories.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
We can't do what we do if we don't have writers. Their intellectual property is valuable. So the strike is happening on the East Coast and West Coast right now, and so writers are not writing, and actors are standing right beside them, and producers are standing right beside them. Something very similar just happened with Actors Equity, which is the stage union. The old contract for people on tour hadn't been reevaluated in so many years, and the cost of living has been going up so much that per diem was no longer covering what it would cost to stay in a hotel and get food.
Wow.
You have actors who are like spending the night in their cars so that they can actually bring home money. So it's costing them to go out on the road while they're also paying rent in another location.
Oh, wow.
So it all seems very glamorous, and it can seem very glamorous, but behind the doors, there are some real issues that we are really sort of fighting to get into balance.
Good.
Yeah, and I think it is good to point that out, because it can seem, you can only seem to pay attention to one aspect of it, but there is a whole other side to it that is very similar to almost any other industry.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm not saying exactly the same, but it's in terms of challenges, macro challenges that we have to face. And I mean, we have the same aspects in agriculture. And so there's understanding that is how I think we can learn to appreciate each other more. And, part of our journey, our Self-Smarter journey, is empathy and understanding. And a lot of times in your line of work, that type of information is not shared with the general public.
Right.
We hear about the Tony Nod.
Yeah.
We hear, and that's great. And we love the award shows, and that's fantastic. It's just, oh wait, there's this whole other aspect, and they have challenges in that space too that need to be addressed and worked on. So thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you're seeing a lot of shows. What are the top 3 shows that just have you excited right now? Give our listeners a little, maybe if they're coming to the city, they can.
I saw Some Like It Hot.
Oh,
I love classical musical theater. So it is tap dancing, big, Broadway, love it. I just saw The Sign in the, I don't know what the whole title is. The title is very challenging. It's the one with Rachel Brosnahan.
Oh, yeah, yes. The Sign in William somebody's window.
That one.
Somebody's window.
Don't judge the title, y'all. Just go see the show. Just go see the show.
And that's a revival.
It's a revival of Lorraine Hansberry's play, who I was like reading up on her. She passed like before she was like 35.
Oh.
And the fact that she wrote this play and wrote Raisin in the Sun, I was like, he was like a genius.
Genius before her time.
Genius. It is beautiful. The performances are great. Again, please don't judge the title. Just go see the show.
Yeah, because the title threw me. I was like,
Ricky, I was like, how do I break this down? And I was like, I can't commit to this. Yeah, I'm going to go see. I'm going to see a lot of things coming up. Parade. I'm obsessed.
I'm dying to see that.
Oh my God. It's so good. There's a lot of great theater. I love theater so much. I love it, love it, love it. This is a really great season.
So I've been seeing a lot of shows too, and I cannot stop thinking about The Doll's House with Jessica Chastain. I mean, it blew me away.
Well, it's a miracle that you didn't storm the stage.
It is, because it is a miracle. And
Huge fan.
I had good seats. But it's so, I can't wait for you. I'm not going to run it for you, but just what they had me, the novice, experience relative to no set.
Okay.
Look, no props, and just raw acting. All 5 of them, only 5 characters. It is, and the whole storyline, I didn't realize it, but I remember Mackie Payton writing an essay on like 2 different point of views about the Dollhouse, because it was written in the 1800s.
Yeah.
But the way they modernized it was just phenomenal. And she's incredible.
Okay. I'm adding that to the list.
Yeah.
Adding it.
And then I saw Shucked.
That's on the list.
Which I had no high hopes for. I was like, I need to laugh. Like, and that's part of my therapy, is I'm supposed to be seeing a lot more comedy type stuff.
Okay.
And so I just went to go laugh. And I'm telling you, I laughed really hard.
Okay.
So it was, if you just need a good laugh, and the music, I loved the folks that wrote it. So Shane McAnally and Brandy Clark.
Yes.
To me, 2 of the best in Nashville. And
I love that.
Yeah, and they read a light.
Is she friends with Brandy?
Carlisle?
Uh-huh.
No.
Oh.
Brandy Clark?
Uh-huh.
I mean, maybe. I don't know. Brandy doesn't send me her checklist of friends yet.
Yes.
Instagram.
Yes. They just got nominated for Tony. You know, Tony nominations came out this morning.
Yeah.
Chuck's got a bunch of nods.
Oh,
so,
good.
Yeah, they're getting their love.
Well, I'll tell you, I think it's deserved.
Okay, good.
Now, my daughter, who's got opinions about jukebox musicals, as she calls them, which I'm not sure what classifies as that, she has opinions about certain things. But I was like, that's not a jukebox musical if it's all original. It's all original writing for the show.
Yeah.
Jukebox would be like music that you already know.
Yeah.
Okay.
MJ the musical would be that.
Well, then I don't care.
Yeah.
I took her to see that.
Well, I just cried from top to bottom.
Right? Just magical.
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 I mean, anybody that grew up with Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah. It's a concert. It's fantastic.
It is, yeah. And I saw him. I saw him in the Bad concert. I went on the Bad tour.
Oh my God.
I was so little too, and my mom was like, "We're going."
And for those of you who don't know, Bad is the name of the tour, because it just sounds like you're like on that Bad tour.
Well, anybody who knows Michael knows.
We have
That was a
younger
huge comeback
population
for him. Yeah.
It sounds like we need to be.
It was bad.
I think we're transitioning naturally into music moment.
Oh yes, we are.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Question for you. What are your go-to karaoke songs? Like, we're at a karaoke bar right now. What are you gonna do?
I am definitely singing "Killing Me Softly."
Whoa.
I prefer the Fuji,
I was gonna say Fuji,
but I will do
the original.
Roberta's.
Okay.
I love "Band of Gold."
Okay.
I like to do duets if I'm doing it. So like I will do like a dorky like somewhere that's green, Little Shop of Horrors.
Oh, yeah.
I cannot remember the song.
That's okay.
But I'll also like to do some duets, because I think it's unfair for singers to go into rooms and be like, "Woo, let me show you I can sing." When like,
actually, we like it. The people that can't sing, we like it. We're like, it's an aspirational, inspirational thing to watch. And then we get up there with a lot more confidence, and we sound like whatever.
No. Anything Alanis Morissette, I love.
I like her too.
Jagged Little Pill was my jam.
I always scream that song.
Yes.
I'm pissed when I sing it.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. So yeah, I stay in that area.
In that area.
Karaoke.
Okay.
Yeah.
Love it. All right. What about on a day like today? Let's say you had a convertible and you were driving, you had your sunglasses on. What's on the radio?
Love on Top, from Beyonce. It's just like a woo.
Yes.
Because also you can like click and pop in your convertible. And
Plus, everyone's looking at you.
exactly.
They kind of have
But
to
then
show
they
up.
hear the Beyonce and they're like, oh, that makes total
Sense.
Like, it's
Yeah.
acceptable that you would.
They jump into
They
it.
get it from their truck or whatever they're in.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
All right, different vibe. You're in your kitchen making lasagna.
Okay.
What are you listening to?
I love neo soul, so like Jill Scott, Erykah Badu,
Ooh, yeah, Erykah Badu.
but like older school, so like 90s.
This is like no Leon Bridges. No.
Not yet.
Not yet, but maybe that's just me. Not yet.
Yeah.
You need to get into him.
Okay.
He's from Fort Worth.
Okay. I'm gonna write.
You're going to die.
Okay. Well, I don't want to die. I don't.
No, it's everybody. Like, he's a thing right now in Texas. He's a thing everywhere.
Yeah, it's not just Texas.
But we do love him extra special something in
He
Dallas.
does not sound like he's of this generation.
Oh.
So I think you'll appreciate the nostalgia
Well-
that he brings to his music,
Okay.
and it's neo soul,
Oh, I love
and
that.
and he himself is just an incredible artist in the way he dresses, and like he hangs out with
Okay.
really cool people like Casey Musgraves and writes all kinds of music.
He mixes it up.
Oh, I love that. I'm gonna get my phone and write that down. So that okay, great.
Absolutely.
What else about music do we want to know? You're singing something that's bringing complete joy. You kind of already talked about Fugees, but you're just alone. Now, you're not performing.
Mm-hmm.
You're just alone.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you go?
I actually sing "I'm Here" from The Color Purple
Ooh.
all the time. It's a good song for the soul of like just like I'm here. You know, I don't need. I got. I'm gonna take a deep breath. I'm gonna hold my head up. I'm gonna put my shoulders back and look you straight. I mean, it's just like it is the ultimate. Like, okay, I'm gonna do this.
Remind me, because Mackie
Yeah.
Payne and I were very blessed to see the version with Cynthia Erivo and Jennifer Hudson.
Okay.
Which one of those characters sings that song?
Cynthia.
Cynthia. Is that what she gets the standing O right before
Yes.
intermission every time?
Yes.
I know that song.
Yes,
We
yes,
all
yes.
stood up in before intermission. So not, I mean, I've never seen it mid show like that, but she did it. She brought
Yeah. You might be thinking about Push the Button. And it's the first act, but the second act, I'm Here, does get a standing.
O.
Yeah.
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 We did several, but I just was so blown away that it was before the intermission
Yes.
even.
Yes,
So
yes, yes.
that was when Mackie was in high school. Yeah, that was
It's a
a
good,
minute.
it's a good show.
All of y'all listening need to get to New York and hang out with these ladies and go to Broadway and see some stuff. There's so much beautiful art to see. Check out Broadway Inspirational Voices.
Yes.
Watch Reasonable Doubt. Get ready, guys. We've got a major star here with us today, and she's amazing. Thank you so much for being here.
Yes.
You taught us a lot.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Absolutely.
I will never forget this conversation. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So everyone listening, I hope you have a wonderful week. We're going to have some information in the show notes. Reminder, please tell a friend about the podcast and definitely about Angela.
Mhm.
We need more super fans everywhere. And until next week, we send you another week with grateful hearts.
Goodbye, everyone.
As always, you can connect with us on Instagram and Facebook at Self Smarter Podcasts. You can also leave a rating or review if you enjoyed what you heard today. Not only does this mean so much to us, but it also helps other leaders and future leaders find our community. Thank you for taking time out of your day to join us in becoming Self Smarter. This podcast is produced by Snacks Media and music is from a free platform. Well, that is until Brandy Carlisle reaches out to us to write the original score for our podcast. Friends, have a great rest of your day.